Naraku, Purgatory is a remake of an RPG Maker horror game where a mute girl gets trapped in a horrifying dungeon filled with giant spiders and flesh-eating butchers. The original Purgatory games were considered amazing, with the creator even describing it as one of the best RPG Maker games ever made. The game begins in a gruesome setting with corpses piled high. The player explores a processing plant where viscera is scattered about. Movement becomes faster as the player progresses through the initial area. A dead body is encountered, and various clues, including a numerical sequence, A=5648, are discovered. The player collects keys and items needed to progress. A green key is obtained, and shortly after, a cleaver is found gripped by a corpse. These items are crucial for advancing through the game. The player navigates through processing plant areas, using the cleaver as a weapon and the keys to unlock new paths. After obtaining another green key, the player experiences a flashback. In this scene, a character named Enri, presumably the protagonist, is asked by another student to deliver materials to a teacher named Miss Pelea. The student dumps the task on Enri before she can respond, showing how others take advantage of her silent nature. The exploration continues through disturbing areas including rooms with decapitated heads, bodies impaled on iron rods, and other gruesome sights. The player encounters various locked doors and must find ways to progress. Different areas are labeled with ominous names like breeding room, pressing room, and disassembly room. During encounters with monsters or obstacles, the player must choose the correct actions. In one instance, struggling against restraints proves successful. The player collects more keys, red and green, and discovers that weapons, like the axe, break after a single use, requiring strategic planning. A killer appears and chases the player through the facility. The player must escape by running and hiding. After successfully evading the pursuer, the player finds a gold key and discovers more numerical clues, D=3126, which are likely part of a larger puzzle within the game. Another flashback reveals how Enri ended up in this situation. A group of students discuss a rumor about a sketchy building called Purgatory, where a giant monster wearing a mask supposedly lurks. The group decides to investigate the rumor and chooses to invite Enri along because she's quiet and won't cause trouble. The player continues exploring the meat factory areas where processing of human meat seems to be occurring. The environment is dangerous with the killer constantly pursuing. The player finds switches and vents to navigate through the facility and discovers another numerical clue, C=5762. A final flashback shows how the group arrived at Purgatory. The students debate who should enter first to check if it's safe. Through manipulation, they convince Enri to go in alone while the others wait outside. This reveals how Enri was deceived into entering the dangerous building, setting up the events of the game. A tense interaction unfolds between several characters, with Emma being confronted for her interest in Oliver. Someone threatens to spread rumors about her later. Enri reluctantly agrees to go ahead with something, which brings relief to others. Someone begs Enri to hurry and check something. During an uncomfortable conversation, someone with green hair offers a cleaver for self-defense, which is accepted. The scene conveys social tension and teenage dynamics with underlying hostility. Enri is called stupid by someone. A menacing figure mentions finding teenagers and wanting to kill them all. Enri feels trapped and needs to escape, trying to believe in themselves. They collect items including rope and an iron key. The atmosphere is tense as Enri navigates through different rooms, discovering horrifying scenes with dead bodies. Enri finds a save point which provides some comfort amid the dangerous environment. Enri tries using a green key on a locked door without success. They encounter numerous dismembered bodies and investigate a switch that creates a loop. Enri finds more keys and encounters a puzzle where moving objects affects the height of platforms. After solving it, Enri proceeds and triggers a cutscene revealing a bloody hole. Enri removes a favorite dress to avoid dirtying it and spots a security camera, causing panic as there's nowhere to hide. Enri examines a corpse holding a paper with code B equals 8888 and instructions to check beneath records. Using the rope to access another area, Enri finds more code fragments, D plus C, related to previously discovered numbers. After solving the puzzle, Enri obtains a demonic axe and a secret key, which leads to facilities described as butchery weird places and a secret teenager murdering hall. The demonic axe breaks during use. The character experiences what appears to be an ending labeled N3L7 Back Alive. The game breaks the fourth wall with thanks to the player and mentions meeting again in the next game. Enri returns to previous areas, encounters more puzzles, and must escape from a killer. The puzzles serve as tutorials for more complex challenges ahead. Enri nearly completes a challenge, but makes a risky move that results in failure. Enri successfully escapes a pursuer using an advanced elevator. Demonstrating resourcefulness, Enri destroys the lever with a cleaver to prevent being followed. Enri's bloody hands prevent touching the favorite dress, which ain't meat anymore. The scene culminates in a bad end, labeled as ending 1 out of 7, no salvation. Enri explores a spider-infested hallway and encounters a giant cocoon blocking the path. After attempting to cut it with various tools, the demonic axe vanishes temporarily. The area is swarming with spiders that initially seem harmless, but eventually prove deadly. Enri solves a puzzle while avoiding a dangerous meat wall and reaches a staff-only area with a giant lethal spider. Despite the danger, Enri manages to defeat the spiders. The demonic axe returns to Enri's hands after defeating the spiders, recognizing Enri as worthy. The axe reveals its power to turn its user into a demon whenever it appears. This leads to ending 2 out of 7, Demonification, which was apparently shocking to many players when the original game was released. The ending is described as having an Evil Dead 2 feeling that kicks ass. The scene shifts to a residential area in the royal capital, introducing a character named Will who's contemplating cutting his hair. Will has a wallet containing money and keeps dolls received from school friends. His room contains various items from male friends, though he wishes for attention from girls instead. The scene explores Will's brother Belle's messy room, filled with advanced textbooks from 10 Judges Academy. Will explores his family home, noting kitchen utensils and rare spices from his mother. He comments on his brother Belle's habit of reading in the bathroom for extended periods. Finding the house empty, Will recalls his parents are out shopping and his brother is doing schoolwork. Will mentions attending an average high school, while his younger brother attends the prestigious Tencho's Academy, which hurts his confidence, especially given his short stature. The protagonist explores their home, commenting on various items. They note their father's diverse book collection that they occasionally read from. There's a library reference book that might be for researching new products, along with business-related materials. They also discover their mother's old ring and a list of house rules directed primarily at their father, noting rule number 7 gets broken in Purgatory 2. The protagonist plans to get a haircut despite potential opposition, hoping to avoid schoolmates during the errand. However, they encounter a mysterious woman who compliments their hair, asking about conditioner. After this strange interaction where the woman mentions koala products, the protagonist reconsiders cutting their hair, believing their current style might be more attractive to women. While exploring outdoors, the protagonist notices similarities between characters in Purgatory 2 and elsewhere. They observe their mother's trash incineration habits, which are technically forbidden in the capital. After forgetting their wallet at work, they decide to visit a new crawl store in the residential district, since they have the next day off too. The protagonist explores the town, briefly visiting various locations, including a restaurant that hasn't opened yet, a general store where they apologize to Luke for a past school festival emergency, and a wine shop where minors aren't allowed to purchase alcohol. They frequently get mistaken for a woman due to their long hair and build. The protagonist notices unusual activity at a warehouse with an unlocked door marked "Authorized Personnel Only," but decides against entering. They visit a bookstore their brother Bell frequents, known for quality paper at fair prices due to noble sponsorship from the Duke of Lancelot. They mention that this economic arrangement benefits both nobility and citizens. The protagonist explains the city layout, including the administrative district, noble quarter, and castle, noting that common citizens rarely visit beyond the administrative district. They inadvertently enter their friend Oscar's unlocked house, but feel uncomfortable and leave. The protagonist encounters a pushy merchant who mistakes them for a woman. Finally, the protagonist visits the new crawl store, which they call Crow, and is impressed by the wide selection. They reflect on the interesting blend of fantasy Renaissance aesthetics with futuristic technology in this world. They decide to purchase a surprisingly affordable rolled pen case made by Lever, a brand known for expensive products. After purchasing a stylish pen case, the protagonist decides to head home while it's still daylight. They consider taking it slow on their journey back, feeling that such a small purchase might bring about some change in their life. While walking, they hear an explosion sound, but choose to ignore it and continue homeward. Curiosity gets the better of the protagonist despite initial hesitation about investigating the explosion. They encounter suspicious men loading metal into carts, mentioning someone named Crow and expressing concern about knights catching them. The men are struggling with the heavy metal cargo and discussing a timeline for moving it. When the protagonist is spotted, the suspicious men attempt to catch them. A chase ensues through the streets as the protagonist flees, determined to report what they saw to the knights. The men are persistent in their pursuit, clearly concerned about being reported. Unexpectedly, a special tactical unit appears and eliminates 2 targets while recovering the metal. They confirm that the civilian boy is unharmed and report that they have successfully secured the site, removing all evidence of their presence before withdrawing. When the protagonist returns with knights to show them the suspicious activity, they find no evidence of the metal or men. However, one observant knight notices traces on the ground, confirming the protagonist's story. The knights decide to investigate further, noting that large quantities of metal could be connected to national security concerns. As the protagonist leaves, they are confronted by a mysterious person who had been chasing them earlier. This individual uses some kind of ability or technique to make the protagonist lose consciousness. Upon waking, the protagonist experiences memory loss, unable to recall anything after shopping at the store. With memories lost, the protagonist experiences déjà vu, feeling like something significant happened but unable to recall what. In another scenario, they purchase a small baton for self-defense despite questioning its necessity in a supposedly peaceful capital with knights patrolling regularly and low crime rates. The protagonist makes a purchase they consider stupid and worries about their friend Belle's potential teasing reaction. They contemplate a humorous physical retaliation if Belle mocks them. They mention needing to return home to help their mother with dinner preparations. The protagonist notices someone referred to as Yandere Girl, whom they had spoken with earlier. While walking, they unexpectedly discover a strange place in a local alley. They become trapped when a door locks behind them, finding themselves in an unusual basement that feels artificial and imposing. Exploring the mysterious basement, they discover incomprehensible papers with letters and numbers, medical-related books, and an unusually detailed map of the capital. Despite searching for an exit, they find nothing helpful for escaping. The yandere girl appears and makes unsettling comments about the protagonist's resemblance to someone else. She tells them to relax and mentions erasing their memory of the last 40 minutes. After they faint, she makes them drink something and carries them to an exit. The woman discusses a Purgatory Emergence project entering planning stages, describing it as bothersome due to uncertain variables in large-scale experiments. She notes that success would allow moving to Phase 2 sooner, making reference to Purgatory 2 or possibly Purgatory Triple. The protagonist awakens in a back alley with memory gaps, unable to recall what happened after shopping. They notice it's evening and feel stomach discomfort, but decide to head home anyway. Game credits appear, mentioning N7, a step before the abnormal, and thanking the player. The game appears to end with a clear state, offering a gallery room to view illustrations encountered during gameplay. In another scene, the protagonist enters a dirty basement filled with beer bottles and wooden crates. They speculate that knights may have used it for parties due to its secluded nature, allowing rowdiness without disturbing others. The protagonist overhears church knights discussing conflict. They debate taking action against an unnamed threat despite the Pope's orders not to fight. The knights mention numerous sacrifices and express frustration at being told to wait rather than confront an enemy that's causing the kingdom to perish. After nearly being discovered, the protagonist escapes and contemplates what they overheard about knights fighting the Umbrella Corporation. They determine it's best to forget what they witnessed and return home. The protagonist encounters someone who asks them to deliver a blue envelope to a woman in town. They're instructed not to look inside and are given a password, sealed. Despite feeling the task seems suspicious, they take the envelope. Eventually, the protagonist delivers the envelope through a hole to a woman who mentions returning to headquarters to give it to a leader. They complete the delivery without saying the password. Heading home, the protagonist realizes they can't remember what happened after leaving home earlier that day. They attempt to retrace their steps, recalling waking up in a back alley, visiting an old apartment, and delivering a blue envelope, but their memory remains fragmented. The narrative concludes with disjointed memories about a church nun and suddenly returning above ground. There's confusion about a leather pen case and speculation about possibly having hit my head and lost memory. Strange references to D001 emerge unexpectedly, causing fear and a desire to return home. In 6 out of 7 lost memories, something appears, marking the end of the game. This completes Naraku Purgatory Remake, a refreshed version of the original game with some modifications.